In this video, let's practice working with exponents. Remember, exponents just represent repeated multiplication. For number 1, when we have this 5 to the second power, or 5 squared, that little 2 just means we have these two 5s being multiplied together. If we multiply 5 times 5, that's going to equal 25. For number 2, we have 2 to the third power, or 2 cubed. That's going to be 2 times 2 times 2. And so if we take a look at that, the first 2 times 2, that's going to be 4. And 4 times this next 2 is going to equal 8. So that's the value of this power. For number 3, we have 3 squared, or 3 to the second power. That means we have 3 times 3. So 3 times 3 is equal to 9. So that's the value of this power. For number 4, we have 4 to the second power, or 4 squared. So we have 2 of these 4s being multiplied together. 4 times 4, that equals 16. So we know that's the value of this power. All right. For number 5, let's go ahead and try this 2 to the fourth power. That just means this 2 is being multiplied 4 times, so 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. The first 2 and the second 2 multiplied together get us 4. 4 times this next 2 is going to be equal to 8. 8 times this next 2 is equal to 16. So that's 2 to the fourth power. For number 6, we have 6 squared, or 6 to the second power. That just means it's 6 times 6. And 6 times 6 equals 36, so that's going to be the answer here. For number 7, we have 2 to the sixth power, so that's 2 times 2 times 2, that's 3 of them, that's 4 of them, that's 5 of them, and that's 6 of them. So we have 6 of these 2's multiplied together. All right, so the first two 2's multiplied together, let's do this together, that's going to get us 4. 4 times the next 2 is going to be 8. 8 times the next 2 is 16. 16 times the next 2 is 32. And 32 times the last 2 is going to equal 64. For number 8, we have 7 to the second power. That means 7 times 7. And 7 times 7, that is equal to 49. So that's going to be what 7 squared is, or 7 to the second power. For number 9, we have this 8 to the second power, or 8 squared. That means we have 2 of these 8, so it's 8 times 8. Now 8 times 8 is equal to 64, so that's going to be the value of this power. For number 10, we have 2 to the 8th power. It's a lot of 2s, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So we have 8 of these 2s. 2 times 2 in the beginning is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 16 times 2 is 32. 32 times 2 is 64. 64 times 2 is 128, and 128 times 2 is going to equal a total of 256. And if you needed to write any of the multiplication out, feel free to do so, but in this case, I did not. For number 11, we have 5 to the third power, or 5 cubed. That's going to be 5 times 5 times 5. And so the first two 5s multiplied together are going to be 25, and 25 times 5, that is going to be 125. Okay, so again, if you need to write out the multiplication, I won't do it for these, but I might do so later on for some bigger numbers. For number 12, we have 3 to the fifth power, which is going to be 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. Okay, so the first two 3's multiplied together, I know that's going to be 9. 9 times 3 is going to be 27. 27 times 3, I believe, is 81. But I'm going to go ahead and write that out just so you can see it. 27 times 3, and that's going to be 21, carry the 2, and that's going to be 6 plus 2 is 8, so it is 81. And we're going to have to do 81 times 3 over here, so I'm going to go ahead and write that as well. 81 times 3, that's going to be a 3, and that's going to be 24, so we should get 243. Moving on down to number 13, let's see what we got here. For 13, looks like we have 3 to the fourth power. That's going to be 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. And the first two 3's together multiplied are going to be 9. 9 times 3 is going to be 27. And 27 times 3, we actually already did that in the previous problem. That's going to be 81. Okay. For number 14, we have 4 cubed, or 4 to the third power. That's going to be 4 times 4 times 4. And so let's see, 4 times 4, that's going to be 16. And so what's 16 times 4? I think it's 64, but I'm just going to write it out just because these are probably not well as known as some of the other ones. But 6 times 4 is 24, carry the 2. And 4 times 1 is 4 plus 2 is 6, so it is 64. For For number 15, we have this 1 to the 6th power, so it's actually 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1. It's a lot of ones. You'll see in the future you won't have to write these out, but 1 times 1 is 1, times 1 is still 1, times 1 is still 1, times 1 is still 1, and times 1 is still 1. So 1 to the 6th power, or 1 to any number power, is going to be 1. And for 16, we just have 6 to the 1st power, so all that really means is we have 1 6, and that's all you have to do. That's the answer. Let's check out number 17. For 17, we have 10 to the 3rd power, or 10 cubed. That's going to be 10 times 10 times 10. And so the first two 10s multiplied together make 100, and 100 times 10 equals 1,000. And you don't really have to write these out in the future. A little shortcut for these powers of 10 is you look at the number that is the exponent, that little 3, and that's how many zeros are going to be after a 1. So that's going to be 1,000 here. For number 18, we have 9 squared, or 9 to the 2nd power, which is 9 times 9. 9 times 9 equals 81. So that's going to be the value here. For number 19, we have 6 cubed, or 6 to the 3rd power. That's going to be 6 times 6 times 6. And so the first two 6s equal 36, and 36 times 6, I believe that's 216, but let's go ahead and just double check that. So 6 times 6 is 36, carry the 3. 6 times 3 is 18, plus 3 is 21. So that's going to be 216. For number 20, let's see, we have 7 to the 3rd power, or 7 cubed. That's going to be 7 times 7 times 7. And so the first two 7s together is going to be 49. And then 49 times 7, I think that's going to be 343, if I remember that correctly. But let's go ahead and multiply it out. 49 times 7, that's going to be 63, carry the 6. 28 plus 6 is going to be 34. So yeah, I think that's going to be 343. For number 21, let's check out some of these here. 21, and scroll down a little bit further. So for 21, we have 9 to the 3rd power, or 9 cubed. So that's 9 times 9 times 9. And so the first two 9s together are going to be 81. And let's go ahead and multiply 81 by this 9. I think that's going to be 729, but let's go ahead and check that. 81 times 9. 9 times 1 is 9. Then 9 times 8 is going to be 72. So we should get 729. For number 22, we have 4 to the 4th power, which is 4 times 4 times 4 times another 4. So the first two 4s multiplied together make 16. 16 times 4, we already did that earlier, and that was 64. 64 times this last 4, I think, is 256, but let's go ahead and do 64 times 4 just to double check that. That's going to be 16, carry the 1. 24 plus 1 is 25. So we do get 256. For number 23, we have 8 to the 3rd power, or 8 cubed. That's 8 times 8 times 8. And so 8 times 8 in the beginning is going to be 64. And then 64 times 8, I believe, is 512, but let's go ahead and check that. 64 times 8, that's going to be 32, carry the 3. 48 plus 3 is going to be 51. So we're going to get 512. For number 24, we have 13 to the 1st power, so we just have 1 13, and that's it. For 25, we have this 1 to the 13th power, and so that's really going to be 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1. There's going to be 13 of those, but keep in mind the answer to this is just going to be 1, so I'm not going to write out 13 ones here. Sounds a bit excessive. For 26, we have 15 squared, or 15 to the 2nd power. That's just 15 times 15. And I'm pretty sure that's going to equal 225, but I'm going to go ahead and give that a try and show you the multiplication anyway. So for multiplying 15 times 15, just go ahead and use your standard algorithm and multiply this out. 5 times 5 is 25, carry the 2. That's going to be a 7, a 5, and a 1. And if we go ahead and add these two, that's going to be a 12, carry the 1, that's a 2. It is indeed 225, 225. For number 27, we have this 12 squared, or 12 to the 2nd power. That's just 12 times 12. And if we go ahead and multiply 12 times 12 together, that should be 144. Okay. If you want to see the multiplication for that, I can show you just in case. So 12 times 12, that's going to be 4, 2, and 1. If we add these, that's a 4, 4, and a 1. All right, so it is 144. For 28, we have 11 times 11, so that's 11 to the second power, 11 squared. So 11 times 11, let's see what that's equal to. I'm pretty sure that's equal to 121. But again, if you want to see that multiplication out, 1 times 1 is 1, then 1, and 1, then 1. And you can see here it's going to be 1, 2, 1, or 121. Let's check out 29 and these last few problems here. For 29, we have 14 squared, or 14 to the second power. That's just 14 times 14. And we go ahead and multiply 14 and 14. I think that's 196. Let's go ahead and just check that though. So we have 14 times 14. Does end in a 6, carry the 1, that's going to be a 5, and then we have a 4 and a 1. So we do indeed get 196. For number 30, we have 16 squared, or 16 to the second power. That's 16 times 16. Pretty sure this is 256, but I'll go ahead and show that as well. 16 times 16. So that's going to be 6, 3, carry the 9, or bring down the 9. And that's a 6 and a 1. Let's see here. That's going to be a 6, a 5, and a 1. It's going to be 2. So I think we do get this 256. For number 31, we have 29 to the third power, or 29 cubed. This is 29 times 29 times 29. So I think we're going to get some bigger numbers here. I definitely don't know these off the top of my head. So 29 times 29, I'm going to have to go ahead and do that here. I'm going to use the side for some space as well, I think. Let's see, actually, I think I can do it right here. 29 times 29 first. And let's see, I think that's going to be 81, carry the 8, and that's going to be 18 plus 8 is 26. And then 2 times 9 is 18, carry the 1. 2 and 2 make 4 plus 1 is 5. So if I add these two rows together, I'm thinking we have 1, 4, and then 8, so 841. Now if you take that 841, multiply that by 29, so 841 multiplied by 29. So 9 here, 36 with a 3, 72 plus 3 is 75, so 7569 I think for the first row. And then 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 4 is 8, 2 times 8 is 16. So we go ahead and add the second row here. We have a 9, an 8, a 13, carry the 1, that's a 14, carry the 1, that's a 2. So I believe that if I did this correctly, this should be 24,389. All right, so finally for number 32, we have 35 cubed, or 35 to the third power. That's 35 times 35 times 35. And so I don't know 35 times 35, so I will have to do some multiplication. So let's give that a try. We have 35 multiplied by 35. And let's see, 5 times 5 is 25, carry the 2, that's gonna make 17. And then 5 times 3 is 15, carry the 1, 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. So if I go ahead and add these two rows together, we have a 5, a 12, carry the 1, a 2, and a 1. So 1, 2, 2, 5. And so we're gonna take that 1,225 and multiply that by 35. So let's see, 1, 2, 2, 5 multiplied by 35. And so that's going to be 25, carry the 2, that's 10 plus 2 is 12, carry the 1, that's 10 plus 1 is 11, carry the 1, that's 5 plus 1 is 6. So 6, 1, 2, 5 for the first row. And then 3 times 5 is 15, carry the 1, 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1 is going to be 7, 3 times 2 is 6, then 3 times 1 is 3. So 3, 6, 7, 5 for the second row. Adding, that's a 5 and that's a 7, that's going to be an 8, that's a 12, carry the 1, and a 4. So if I did this correctly, this should in total be this 42,875. So there you have 32 different practice problems on evaluating exponents. So hopefully you feel a little bit more comfortable with using that little number and knowing that's how many of the big number you are multiplying together. When you get over to the bigger numbers, hopefully you realize that it is helpful to know some standard algorithm for multiplication, so you don't have to spend too much time doing that. So if you feel comfortable multiplying, that does help a bit with these exponents by hand. So hopefully you found this video helpful, and as always, keep up the great work you are already doing, and I'll see you in the next one.